Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Charlie, and here's what he has to say. Hey Sandman, your channel has absolutely enlightened me and showed me a better path in life. I've always seen deep down inside since my teenage years women for who they really are, their behavior traits and what they stand for, which is why I've had little luck with relationships. My topic is this. I'm from the United Kingdom and I heard on the radio recently, and I've also seen in various articles, that women are now pretty much matching the men on average alcohol consumption. This can have detrimental effects as their bodies are much smaller and not designed to withstand as much alcohol intake. I understand that modern lives can be stressful and hectic, but is this just another way to try to compete with men or see themselves as equal? Another thing I've noticed that among the smokers, more women are trying cigars. I've seen it on Tinder, not that I actually use that much, just for shits and giggles. And in the street outside pubs and bars, there are more women opting for big fat Cuban cigars or similar. Again, what the hell is this all about? Trying to be different, compete with men, or another sordid way to destroy their health? I'm not a smoker and I don't condone it in any shape and form at all. Anyways, keep up the good work. Well, Charlie, thanks for your donation as well as your topic request. And there are tons of reasons why women are getting as drunk as a skunk in the last 10 to 15 years. Also having more sex than sea monkeys, and now taking up nasty cigar habits as well as cigarettes. Think about it like this. Many women no longer need men to do things for them because they're increasingly having their own careers handed to them by the government and women working in HR departments across the land. They no longer need to be healthy and fertile to attract a man for resources, so in many cases, they can actually take on as many vices as possible. That, as you've already mentioned, include drinking, smoking, but also sex, drugs, and cock in their holes. As far as I can tell, this was already happening here in Toronto back in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I knew a girl that could pretty much drink every other guy under the table because she built up her tolerance very young. She weighed only 120 pounds, yet 200-pound guys were vomiting at her feet. In the mid-2000s, that's when I saw the rise of HPV because of smoking, drinking, overweight bodies, and it all started coming together as a problem. But women today, if they catch abnormal cells in their cervix and vagina with the help of a gynecologist, get the burden of potential cancer out of themselves and keep on guzzling coca-cola. Without the modern medical establishment to keep them on life support, they'd probably have a very difficult time staying alive into their late 20s and early 30s. Women like this are also going to raise the cancer rates dramatically because regardless of what the liquor lobby tells you, alcohol causes esophageal cancer and kills your liver. If you're a tiny woman with a tiny liver, you're probably not going to make it past your late 60s or early 70s. But we already know this, don't we? We know that millennials and Generation Xers are not going to live as long as their parents. The biggest killer over all of this is overeating. But with regards to alcohol, women are obviously drinking more because they're increasingly opting out of not having children, so it doesn't matter if they destroy their health with alcohol. Once they get past the wall and they have kids, if they choose to have them, then they continue to basically binge drink. Women's stress levels and unhappiness continue to rise, so it makes sense that women are medicating their blues away with alcohol because it's still a relatively cheap and socially acceptable drug. I would argue that smartphones and the internet are also causing women a lot of stress because they're constantly trying to keep up with the pecking order and project the illusion of success on Facebook. A few days ago, I took a complete break from the internet except for posting one of my videos, and I must say my stress level dropped down to almost nothing. From say a level 3 or 4, which is a low-grade stress, I feel on a daily basis down to almost nothing. Another hard thing for women is the culture of drinking, especially in countries like Germany, the UK, Canada, the United States, and Australia. To show status, people go to bars and order bottle service at the VIP, and women are often addicted to basically seeking out status, addicted to their iPhones, addicted to cock, alcohol, and food. The worse life gets for them, the more vices they put on their plates. I'm also not surprised to see women that are now opting to smoke cigars, which are also a major status symbol that used to be primarily a male thing. Now that women have shot past the point of equality and have superiority over men, I'm sure they don't see any issues doing anything that men do as an issue as well. After all, third-wave feminism says that there are no biological differences between men and women, and all the differences are pretty much social. I guess a woman with a smaller liver to handle all that extra alcohol is just something that's made up and a conspiracy by the patriarchy to keep women from drinking alcohol. The temperance movement ironically was based around getting men to stop drinking by outlawing the drug entirely. But then women couldn't drink because they had the responsibility of having at least 3 or 4 children during their 20s and 30s. So women didn't make it a habit to drink as much. Today, because women are getting married in their late 20s and early 30s, they don't see the dangers of drinking when they're younger and then just going cold turkey once they have a family. But we all know it doesn't work that way because once you get addicted to a certain type of substance or you make consuming alcohol a social behavior, then you're stuck doing it when you get older. Another thing that probably isn't going to get looked at is the average weight of the man and the woman drinking. Here in Toronto, if you go to your average nightclub these days, you'll see that the majority of women look like they weigh more than the guys there. If the woman weighs 200 pounds of pure whale blubber and the guy's 150 pounds of pure toothpicks, then it makes sense why women would be drinking the same amount of alcohol as the men. It takes a lot more Jägermeister to dilute all that whale blubber. It would be interesting to see what the average weights are for women these days for millennial women compared to Generation Xers and their boomer equivalents at their same age. Alcohol is not all that good for you because it kills rational brain cells, and women aren't gifted with as many of them as men, simply by the size as well as their biology. So the more they drink, the more they kill their rare brain cells. Alcohol also increases the risk of date rape, yet women in this city appear to care little about that. I see women on the weekends in town vomiting all over the roads and in cabs. Most of the time, the cab drivers don't even want to let drunk women into their cars. I hope all of those Uber drivers have splash guards inside their cars for all those chicks. This city even has a 24-hour late night or morning bus that's called the Vomit Comet, because it's full of people trying to get home after a bender. They're too drunk for the cabs to pick them up, so they often get stuck taking the special stinky bus to get home. Unlike actual world-class cities, Toronto doesn't even have a 24-hour metro. Ours looks more like the one you'd find in Rome versus the ones you'd find in Paris or New York. I also think that women's rising alcohol consumption could have something to do with the rise in obesity. It's no secret that beer gives you a paunch or a spare tire. But that's okay because we're now in the fourth wave of feminism with fat acceptance. It's increasingly acceptable for women to look like a team of sumo wrestlers in high heels made of steel. The social stigma attached with blimping out is less prevalent than in previous generations, so women can consume as much alcohol as they want and bring out their inner version of Big Bertha. As I mentioned earlier, drinking also makes women vulnerable to rape. But if women have built up a tolerance of their fat and can absorb just as much alcohol as men can without getting completely wasted, then they're making the alcohol companies very rich. All of those obese drunken sluts must be good for something, right? That's why I started looking at some alcohol stocks to see if they were worth buying. None of this is actually financial advice, I'm just going to tell everyone the stocks that I found that stood out to me. One is Anheuser-Busch, or the ticker symbol BUD. It pays almost a 4% dividend, but the PE ratio is too high, so I wouldn't buy it. Another one I saw was Molson Coors Brewing Company. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if women are going to drink themselves into oblivion, then it's not a bad idea to make money feeding America's future hog beasts a trough full of beer. Charlie, at the end of the day, I understand you care about women's health, but do you really care about your mental health? Especially when they're nagging you for a new pair of shoes or messing with your mind by stringing you along by putting you in the friend zone. In the past, there was no friend zone, or women simply didn't exploit it for very long because they were married much younger, and what wealth could they leech from a boy in his teens or early 20s? I see no harm in profiting from the sale of piss water to increasingly pissed off pussycats. I've spoken before about investing in cat food companies, but most of those are now private. So here in Canada, I've invested in things like pizza with a company called Pizza Pizza. Pizza goes with beer, so it makes perfect sense. And now I know why they pay a 4.5% dividend and are located all over the inner city of Toronto near the bars. Because after their local drinking binges, women need to sober up so they can head to the local burger or pizza place so they can get their hands on something to help them sober up. Ironically, both the alcohol and the pizza makes you fat. But as I said, it doesn't matter because the fat acceptance culture is everywhere. It takes a lot to basically get a hog beast drunk. Also, this observation that I've made with regards to the majority of overweight women being with skinnier guys is not only something that I've seen. Other friends have also told me this is a trend that started about 10 years ago, in their opinions. With regards to women and increasing alcohol consumption, one study found that women are willing to get help for their addiction problems, but not alcohol consumption for some reason. And that by the time a person reaches their late teens, early 20s, their drinking patterns are established for life. So more women are going to college unsupervised, sucking from the bottle and sucking off the boys, and that establishes a pattern now, doesn't it? I wonder if the women's sexual habits are also established by this age. The real problem for women is that there's a culture of drinking, and if their friends do it, then they're more likely to follow suit. Unless they get together with a man that doesn't drink, and then the woman plays chameleon with her boyfriend when he's around. That has always been my experience with my ex-girlfriends. They would supposedly give up drinking for me, but when I wasn't around, they would drink with other people. They would do whatever it takes to please me when I was around, but they would actually keep their old ways with others. I would occasionally get a phone call from them when they were actually getting emotional and drunk, expecting me to listen to their annoying ramblings, asking me to share how I felt about them. I sometimes wonder if alcohol makes women insecure about if a guy's into them or not, and they want them to be into them, so that's why they're more likely to basically put out when drunk. The alcohol shows the real emotional basket case under the brassiere of normality that they project most of the time. As for women smoking cigars instead of cigarettes and cocks, I think that someone should come out with a brand of cigarettes called cocks with a rooster on it, just for women and gay men. Maybe that'll actually make the cock carousel riders happy, who knows? But still, it's probably a lot healthier smoking a cigar that is wrapped between some woman's thighs in the Dominican Republic than it is to smoke cigarettes with all those nasty chemicals and preservatives that are put into them. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Charlie, for your donation as well as your topic. Women are drinking more because they're depressed, not having kids, and they actually want to be socially accepted in the circle of friends that they have and be seen as equals to men. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and also check out today's MGTOW mystery link. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the pregnant beer guts away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.